to Bosnia as President Clinton prepares for the hard sell. At the nation's airports, high anxiety for frantic flyers rushing home for the holidays. NBC News In Depth, the Congresswoman's husband, a tangled tale of love and a lot of money. And the fleecing of America, people we trust every day, apparently ripping us off.
From NBC News, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Sitting in tonight, Stone Phillips.
Good evening. They say the selling begins when the customer says no. And tonight, President Clinton is selling hard his plan to send U.S. troops to the killing fields of Bosnia. Polls show a majority of the American people are against the idea, and Republican leaders in Congress have made it clear the president has a fight on his hands. But as they battle it out in Washington, U.S. troops stationed in Germany are getting ready for the green light. We have two reports, beginning with Jim Miklaszewski at the White House.
Wherever he showed up today, President Clinton pitched his plan to send American troops into Bosnia. At a homeless shelter where he helped serve turkey dinners to the needy, President Clinton started to carve out his message. On this day before Thanksgiving, he stressed that above all else, this is a humanitarian mission.
In that little bitty country, there are 1 million homeless families because of that war. So I hope on this Thanksgiving we can help more of our own people to find homes, and we can help them to go home.
At the White House, his top foreign policy team arrived to brief the president. For an hour in the Situation Room, the president raised questions about every detail of the treaty and troop deployment. After the peace treaty is formally signed in Paris in about 3 weeks, the entire NATO force, including 20,000 American troops, will start landing in Bosnia about mid-December. And we're learning more today about what went on behind the scenes at the peace talks in Dayton. The U.S. used high-tech computer graphics to sell the peace plan. The three leaders were taken on a virtual reality flyover of Bosnia to show them exactly where and how the territories would be divided. But there's already potential trouble. The administration says U.S. troops would be out of Bosnia in a year. But today, U.S. officials acknowledge they have no firm strategy to get them out.
And so there's a broad array of things that would occur during this 12-month period. But this is a time-based exit strategy.
Members of Congress are already threatening to block the U.S. troop deployment. That brought a stern warning today from London that if the U.S. backs out, so do the British.
We expect to arrive and leave alongside our American and French allies.
The president will try to sell all this in a primetime television address next Monday night. Then he's off to Europe, where he'll meet with U.S. troops in Germany, who should be serving in Bosnia by Christmas. Jim Miklaszewski, NBC News, the White House.
This is Jim Masada in Germany. The training is over. Now it's time to tune up their Jeeps, get their inoculations, and the cold weather boots. The countdown to Bosnia has begun.
The soldiers are preparing for all kinds of contingencies. They've been trained and they're ready.
Sergeant Ace has the buses coming. If all goes as planned, these U.S. troops from the 21st Theater Army Support Command in Germany will be the first to deploy early next week to neighboring Hungary. Part of a 2,000-strong multinational task force preparing the way into Bosnia for some 60,000 NATO troops from 11 countries, including France, Great Britain, Germany, and Russia. They are still awaiting orders.
The runway is about 2,500 meters long.
In their last briefing before a 4-day Thanksgiving break and possible deployment, subversion, espionage, and terrorism in Bosnia were on the agenda.
There are possibility of targeting attacks by Serbian nationalists who might be not too accepting of the peace plan, which was recently implemented.
These 13,000 U.S. troops, many veterans of the Gulf War, Somalia, and Rwanda, will make up most of the American contingent. They are heavily armed. Apache helicopters, M1 tanks, and laser-guided munitions. So morale is pretty high.
Morale is definitely high. We're fully confident in our leadership and the plans they've laid for us, and we're ready to complete our mission.
But privately, some of these troops believe the peace agreement will fall apart, and that, as happened in Somalia, they'll be caught trying to enforce a peace between warring factions. Specialist Henry Hudson, who served in Somalia, says he's prepared for the worst.
It's different with peacekeeping because with this situation over there in Bosnia, you never can train for it.
Others here say they can handle the landmines and the snipers that may await them, but telling their families they may not be home for Christmas is tougher. Jim Masadam, NBC News, Kaiserslautern, Germany.
Late this afternoon, the UN Security Council voted unanimously to lift economic sanctions against Serbia and ease the arms embargo against Bosnia. When Nightly News continues, it's the fleecing of America.
I didn't look at the whole picture on where the money was going to be coming from. I just knew that there would be money coming.
The hunt for big-time hustlers. They're costing you millions. And next, the holiday travel crush. How bad is it tonight?
Salad shooter comes to every day.
How about some cheese for your pizza or perfect salad shooter hash browns for breakfast, vegetables sliced or shredded, and nothing tops a salad like salad shooter.
Point and shoot to help you every day.
Presto Salad Shooter Electric Slicer Shredder. So you can fill an omelet, slice a beet, make a soup, top a treat. Clean up easy, dishwasher safe, stores anywhere.
Salad shooter helps you every day.
Original and professional salad shooter.
How much closer do our precision heads help shave beneath the skin? How much closer does our innovative groove make Norelco's lift and cut system? How much better is the latest Norelco razor? We think you'll find it's never brought you closer. The Norelco razor, our closest shave ever.
If you won't settle for Parmesan cheese that isn't 100% Parmesan,
What was I thinking?
make sure you get one that is. Kraft Parmesan. It's always 100% Parmesan. No fillers.
I'm back.
Real Italian meals don't begin without Kraft 100% grated Parmesan cheese. Now you can eat.
Thanksgiving Eve, and chances are you're traveling tonight, are about to, or know someone who is, and it's not easy. You're looking live at the United Terminal, the busiest at Chicago's O'Hare Airport. It's just past 5:35 Central Time there. And in the next hour, 10,000 people will pass through this terminal. For all of O'Hare, almost 200,000 people today. That's 842 flights, and by all accounts, there isn't a single empty seat. What's it like in the rest of the country? NBC's Rahima Ellis.
It's the surest sign of the holiday season. Everywhere you look, people are standing in line, making their way to loved ones.
We're going to Charlotte for my mother-in-law's 70th birthday reunion.
I always cook, but this time I'm going back home to Mama.
More than 1.3 million passengers are making their way through the nation's airports today. At train stations, 78,000 people are ticketed to travel.
Because this train has standees only on it.
And 25 million motorists are expected to jam the nation's highways. Most will be riding on cheaper gasoline. Prices nationwide are down about 4 cents a gallon over this time last year.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Although more people are traveling this year, there are few delays, mostly because weather conditions across the country are good. But there's always something.
Well, we kind of forgot a purse. I forgot to pick his sister up. You know, the usual kind of stuff.
Even heightened security restrictions imposed last August because of concern over possible terrorist attacks haven't caused big delays.
Positive identification is still required. Random searches of baggage is still taking place.
Smooth sailing for a day like today is just what the troubled airline industry needs. The Air Transport Association says airlines are expecting their first profit in 5 years. And for the first time, experts say, this Sunday may surpass today as the busiest travel day of the year, meaning in just a few days, these people will be on the move all over again. Rahima Ellis, NBC News, New York.
Legal news tonight. The Labor Department says it's investigating 303 companies suspected of misusing employee contributions to 401k retirement accounts. 100 of the companies say they'll pay back the money to those employees' accounts. Civil lawsuits or prosecution could follow. Wall Street continued in record territory today. The Dow climbing to another new high. Trading was very heavy. The Nasdaq was off. Pre-holiday trading there, also very heavy. When we come back, NBC News in depth. Deep trouble for a Utah congresswoman and her husband. How deep? Some answers tonight. And it's not a pretty story.
On a conquest like this,
you need the walking shoe cushioning and support of a true Easy Spirit. And the nerve to look down. And with so many styles to choose from, you can now go anywhere in comfort. Easy Spirit. Inside's our walking shoe. Outside's the whole world.
Walk on! Walk on!
Something's been overlooked in the design of women's razors. The woman. But there's one razor that adjusts to your legs and underarms, even bikini line. Norelco's Silhouette, the first razor designed to shave a woman where a woman shaves.
Monday, I soak my dentures. Tuesday, I brush. Wednesday, I...
Stop. Denture Cream really cleans dentures, and its new Mouthwash Fresh formula has more minty mouthwash ingredients. Denture Cream.
Every day.
Now with new Mouthwash Fresh formula.
Nobody does it like you, the way that you do. Nobody's got the power to please me.
The new Hoover Steam Vac Deluxe with a 5-brush agitator. It washes and extracts dirt like a whole crew of professionals. So you know, there's really no comparison.
Nobody does it like you, Hoover. Nobody does it like you.
NBC News In Depth tonight. The latest in the story of U.S. Congresswoman Enid Waldholtz and her husband Joe. A story of tangled finances and deception. Today, he went to a federal court hearing, part of a grand jury investigation of the couple's finances and her campaign funds. He told the judge he has not decided if he'll take the Fifth Amendment. He said he still loves his daughter and his wife, who has now filed for divorce. But there's much more to this story, as David Bloom reports in this in-depth investigation.
It was, at first glance, a storybook romance. The Congresswoman from Salt Lake City, her seemingly wealthy husband. Now, their marriage and her political career are in shambles. Today, law enforcement sources told NBC News they believe Joe Waldholtz is looking to cut a deal to testify against his estranged wife, Utah Representative Enid Green Waldholtz. In response, the Congresswoman's lawyers made public documents which they claim prove Joe Waldholtz filed phony tax returns and home mortgage applications, even falsified security certificates to con his wife and others into believing he was a wealthy man.
She is guilty of trusting someone, and that's what she did.
A few short weeks ago, she was a star of the Republican Party, an ally of Newt Gingrich, the first freshman on the powerful House Rules Committee in 70 years.
The money's there to cut.
In her 1994 campaign, Enid Green Waldholtz spent more money, $1.8 million, than any other freshman congressional candidates. According to her campaign finance reports, more than 90% of that money, $1.6 million, came from Enid and Joe. Dave Owen was the campaign's media advisor.
It was just an understanding. How much money can you spend on this? And the answer was as much as it takes.
But didn't that strike you as somewhat unusual?
No, because the word on Joe had always been that he is this incredibly independently wealthy person.
It turns out he wasn't, that the money apparently came from the Congresswoman's parents, possibly in violation of federal campaign laws. They met in 1991. She, a Mormon from Salt Lake City. He, a Jew from Pittsburgh, who claimed to be Episcopalian. At the time, Enid Green was running for the top post in the Young Republicans and wondered if she needed to know, as she put it, the fat guy from Pittsburgh. In 1992, Waldholtz, with Green at his side, was the Bush Quayle strategist for Pennsylvania. The couple married the next year.
She wanted to be married, she wanted a family, and she wanted to be elected to Congress. By marrying Joe, she got all three.
But there was trouble early on. Bounced campaign checks, staffers quitting, amid allegations that campaign treasurer Joe Waldholtz was playing fast and loose with the books. Federal prosecutors began to investigate when they learned the Waldholtzes were bouncing checks at the Congressional Federal Credit Union, allegedly floating $1.7 million back and forth between that account and one at Salt Lake City's First Security Bank, writing checks for $228,000 more than was in the account. Now the Congresswoman has filed for divorce, pinning the blame on her husband. But polls show most Utah voters believe Enid Green-Waldholtz either knew or should have known something was wrong. And her critics falter not just for blind love, but for blind ambition. David Bloom, NBC News.
So what's next? We called the House Ethics Committee today and asked if any formal complaints have been filed against Congresswoman Waldholtz. The response was, quote, no comment. We'll keep you posted. When we come back, an age-old hustle with a new twist. Money for nothing, and you're paying. It's the fleecing of America.
When you have arthritis, like we do, what you want most is relief, and that's just what we get with Arthritis Foundation Pain Relievers.
I knew I could trust it when I saw the Arthritis Foundation seal on the package.
Now, there are 4 different medicines. Aspirin-free, ibuprofen, safety-coated aspirin, and nighttime. They're all terrific.
And part of the purchase price goes to research to find a cure.
What other medicine does that?
Arthritis Foundation Pain Relievers, for relief you can count on until we find a cure.
It's wonderful medicine.
It is.
Hey, I know big, and the Ace Really Big sale is gigantic. It's a huge opportunity to find big-name products like this and this at really small prices. So hurry down to Ace. It just doesn't get any bigger than this.
Personal hygiene is a responsibility. Hold your brush at a 45-degree angle. 45 degrees. Use strokes half a tooth wide.
It's not easy fighting plaque.
Gentle.
That's why there's the new Norelco Dentaflex. Its unique dual-action brush is tough on plaque, and it flexes back if you press too hard.
Don't forget those back teeth. They're not back there because they're not important. Plaque can be stubborn as a mule.
Norelco Dentaflex. Don't brush the hard way.
He's always brought me luck.
White Diamonds, the intriguing fragrance from Elizabeth Taylor. White Diamonds for the holidays, a $71 value, just $55.
It happens in the hospital. It happens at home. It's the onset of heartburn. It's an attack of acid indigestion. For these stomach flare-ups, the #1 choice of hospitals is Maalox. Hospitals know that nothing works faster to rush heartburn relief. Now you know it too. Fast-acting Maalox. Hospitals can count on it for speed, and that's just what you need. Maalox, the first choice for hospitals, the fast choice for home. In fast-acting Maalox tablets too.
Dateline Tuesday. High-class strip clubs, they're all the rage.
It's like safe sex in the 90s.
But do they really bring crime and prostitution to the neighborhood? Dateline NBC Tuesday.
A follow-up now to last night's report on those 10 Air Force reservists who stretched a practice mission into a cross-country outing to see a couple of pro basketball games at taxpayer expense. We checked back with the Air Force today, and a full investigation is underway tonight. That was one form of fleecing America. Tonight, in our regular Wednesday report on the misuse of your money, another example of how those dollars are going seriously astray. It's one of the oldest cons, faking a job-related injury, then collecting workers' compensation. But tonight, NBC's Linda Vester will introduce you to some brand new players in this booming business.
4 a.m., Rockford, Illinois. Police respond to a robbery call at a photocopy store. The clerk has been shot in the shoulder. But as detectives find the evidence, they grow suspicious. On a tip, they arrest the clerk. He and a friend later confess they had faked it.
It was planned to come in, take the items, take the safe, take the money, leave. And my friend comes back and shoots me. The way I had positioned myself to get shot was I leaned up against the wall, and take this wall back here is where the person that shot me was. And I just leaned my shoulder out.
They didn't want the safe. They wanted an insurance payoff. Stage an injury, file a false insurance claim, and collect. It's called workers' compensation fraud. Although arranging to take a bullet on the job is very unusual, this kind of fraud is not, and it's fleecing consumers. By 1993, families spent nearly $3 billion more for goods and services because of workers' comp fraud. The insurance industry estimates 1 out of every 5 workers' comp claims involves cheating. Like the Detroit newspaper binder, who filed for a hand injury, then was caught on videotape playing softball. And the Detroit computer operator, who filed for a wrist injury, then was caught bowling. But the newest twist in this fleece involves not workers, but the people who are supposed to provide care for their injuries. Last June in California, police busted 10 AmeriMed clinic doctors and affiliated lawyers for allegedly running a ring to inflate workers' comp claims worth $30 million a year. The alleged ring members have pleaded not guilty and are awaiting trial. If this seems victimless, you'll be surprised. In fact, you are the victim. First, insurance companies pay $5 billion a year in bogus claims. Then, to compensate, they make up their losses by charging businesses higher premiums. The businesses, in turn, pass on these higher costs to you, the consumer, by raising prices on goods and services. Workers' compensation fraud has become so expensive that 27 state governments have now set up bureaus to crack down on insurance fraud. And many businesses now have surveillance agents spying on some employees who file workers' comp claims.
We're out here to obtain the truth, to determine whether or not he is actually injured.
Hawthorne Machinery uses surveillance, in this case, on a trucker who filed a claim for back injury.
Here's a guy that's claiming, I can't bend, I can't stoop, I can't get out of bed. He is loading into his own personal car cases of oil.
Hawthorne cited the evidence and refused the claim, saving $60,000. But it's a small victory. Despite new efforts to catch fraud, insurers say the average workers' compensation claim has quadrupled in the past 15 years, largely because of fraud, leaving you ultimately paying the price in this fleecing of America. Linda Vester, NBC News, Chicago.
And evidence tonight that these fleecing reports are producing results. Last week we told you how the Air Force Academy was flying cadets to Academy football games. The fare, your tax dollars. Well, today, the Academy says plans to fly cadets to this Saturday's game in Hawaii have been scrubbed. Two other fleecing of America investigations have also had an impact. In June, we told you about the Federal Helium Reserve in Amarillo, Texas, a huge underground supply of gas costing taxpayers $120 million each year. Last Friday, Congress passed a bill which would put the federal government out of the helium business. It requires that the government sell the helium facilities within 18 months. Earlier this month, we reported on fleecing through the USDA's peanut program. It guarantees higher prices for some peanut farmers, 33 cents more for every jar of peanut butter, $500 million more for all the peanut products Americans buy each year. Last Wednesday, Congress reached a deal which would continue the peanut program for another 7 years, but cut the guaranteed price by 10% and save taxpayers $70 million a year. Now to NBC News Online, beyond the day's headlines. With holiday travel in full swing tonight, here's the latest on Chessie. The wandering manatee got her name last year after swimming north from Florida to the Chesapeake Bay. This year, she got as far as Rhode Island. Now Chessie's made it all the way back to the waters off Jacksonville, home for the holidays. A festive air at the White House today. President Clinton accepted the traditional gift of a Thanksgiving turkey. About 45 million of the birds will be eaten tomorrow, but not this one. It received a presidential pardon and is headed for a petting zoo. When we come back, her name was Miss Ruby, and in this very special schoolhouse, she taught these children so many lessons worth remembering, especially on this eve of Thanksgiving.
When I was young, you and Mom made sure I ate right.
Well, you were my little girl.
Well, today we're listening to our doctors and taking better care of our health with Ensure.
Ensure is recommended #1 by doctors as a source of complete, balanced nutrition.
More than a vitamin supplement, Ensure has all the nutrients adults need to help stay healthy, active, be energetic.
Drink Ensure as a meal.
Or in between. Ensure. To your health, Dad.
To our health.
Ensure, recommended #1 by doctors.
When was the last time you played in the rain? Let your hair go wild. Flexed your muscles to the world. Stayed up past your bedtime. When was the last time you really had fun in a car? Riviera by Buick. Go ahead. Express yourself.
Outside of this box of Russell Stover candies, life has changed in the last 70 years. But inside, very little has changed. we're still using our time-honored recipes and only the finest ingredients. That's why we can guarantee freshness and home-fashioned goodness in every piece. Nobody does chocolate like Russell Stover does chocolate.
Tomorrow on Today, a preview of the Thanksgiving Day Parade, plus folks with special reasons for giving thanks, and last-minute turkey tips. Happy Thanksgiving from Today.
And finally tonight, the story of a teacher who started her own school and touched a lot of lives. It's a story about reading and writing and arithmetic, but mostly it's about another R, remembering. Here's Bob Dotson.
For these children on Pawleys Island, Thanksgiving is very personal this year. Their little one-room school was to have closed forever. Ruby Forsyth opened this classroom for black families half a century ago.
All right, come on, girls. And
when we met her in 1987, she was teaching 5 grades at once, 53 children.
I hear somebody behind me.
Miss Ruby, as they called her, had some old-fashioned notions. Electronic calculators were not allowed.
You have that one right.
C-spot run.
But her students could read by age 4. And above all else, they learned honor.
Thou shalt not steal.
Miss Ruby charged nothing for that private education, relying instead on donations. In 1992, on a graduation day, she died. Donations started to fall.
We thought the school was going to be closed down.
Parents had to raise $30,000 by November 30th, or their little one-room schoolhouse would close. A near impossible sum for 25 families on a small island. But they remembered something Miss Ruby had said.
Don't use the word I can't. The word is try. Eat your lunch.
Carolyn Wallace decided to teach without pay if necessary. So did J.J. Flowers and Audrey Boswell.
Why not open the school on faith? And that's what we did.
It touched Herman Brown.
I went through the school.
Back in 1938.
All that I've accomplished, I attribute to what happened here.
This fall, he gave a little money. So did many others who had not forgotten the value of Ruby Forsyth's dream.
Just $5 and $10 and $25 donations.
But enough to save Miss Ruby's school just before Thanksgiving.
We can't fill her shoes, but we can try to follow in her footsteps.
And find deep within themselves the people she knew they could be.
Bye-bye.
Bob Dotson, NBC News, Pawleys Island, South Carolina.
Bye-bye.
That's Nightly News for Wednesday. Have a happy and healthy Thanksgiving. I'm Stone Phillips. Good night.